Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. Today is my college football legend. I'm highlighting the quarterback out of the University of Georgia who won the national championship in 1980, my man, Mr. Buck Belue. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. Today's video is presented by betonline.com, by the Belue Podcast Network. If you like the video, please come in and share it. Buck Belue. Me and him came out of the high school the same year, 1978. I hear Mr. Belue, one of his favorite bands is Lakeside, the R&B band back in the late 1970s. So Mr. Belue, me and him can relate a little bit about growing up in the mid-70s to the late 70s and then the early part of the 80s. But I'm going to tell you when I first heard about Buck Belue is that when I was in high school, everybody knows I'm from the 901 Memphis, Tennessee. And at that time, I was following football like it was no tomorrow. I was fortunate enough to go to a high school in Southside High School that had several players on the football team that was very recruited. Two of them grew up in my neighborhood, Carlton Peoples and Mark Stutterwood, who played against Buck Belue when Buck Belue was at Georgia. But that year, I remember something that was going through the South and being around them, and they was giving me inside information. They were juniors at the time. I was a senior in high school. But they was giving me information about all the quarterbacks that were being highly recruited in the South and across the nation. There was a quarterback at Christian Brothers who won the state championship. His name is Ronnie Skinner. He ended up signing at Ole Miss, but never got on the field. He was a hell of a baseball player, too. Then he had Art Schleister, who ended up going to Ohio State. He was in that quarterback class. Then there was Marcus Allen. We all know about how he ended up. He was a quarterback out there in Lincoln High School out there in San Diego. A lot of people didn't know that. Then there was a young man by the name of Daryl Martin, who was a quarterback at a local rival school in Memphis, Tennessee, Hamilton High School that was highly recruited, but he signed with Memphis State. And then there was John Forcade, who was out of Louisiana, Greta, who ended up signing with Ole Miss. And then my home guys was telling me about, hey man, it's a quarterback down there in Georgia. He's out of Valdosta. Never heard of the town. His name is Buck Belue. Say Tennessee got their eyes on him. I said, oh, really? But the rest is history. I went to the University of Arkansas. And I really didn't follow Buck Belue's career that much. But I remember the 80s season, the season they won the national championship. And then I remember my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, ended up being a freshman at the University of Tennessee. And she went to that Tennessee-Georgia game. That game when Georgia was down 15 points in that game, 15-0. Opening game. And my sister told me something, said, brother, it was extremely hot on that AstroTurf that night. But everybody talked about the legend going on the field, Herschel Walker. But my sister Bridget, who lives in New Orleans right now, stated, brother, but I'm going to tell you the key to the game. It wasn't so much Herschel Walker. It was that quarterback. And I got to thinking, the quarterback. I said, what was his name? She said, Buck Belue. I said, oh, that was who Carlton and Mark. We're talking about Mark Stutterway and Carlton Peoples. So now we at the junior. I'm in my junior year at the University of Arkansas. So I started following Georgia. And, you know, Georgia started blowing up. Herschel Walker was having great success. And I followed Georgia each game, followed them in the South Carolina game, followed them when they went on to their great season. But the guy that really made it happen, I know Herschel put Georgia on the map, but it was the quarterback, Buck Belue. Didn't put up gaudy numbers. I think he only threw for maybe in his career, threw 4,000 yards, 32 touchdowns, but they weren't throwing the ball back then. But what I came away really impressed with, I saw the South Carolina game and the Georgia game, is that he didn't make a lot of plays in the passing game, but he had the arm strength, was an A+. The poise was an A plus. His delivery was an A plus. His foot quickness was an A plus. But he had that leadership, man. A plus all the way. And the football intelligence. A plus. And please don't get it misunderstood. But his leadership was very valuable to that football team and for them winning the national championship. And think about this. Before Georgia won the national championship, you had some great teams before the 80s. You had the 59 Ole Miss Rebels that was led by Jay Gibbs. You had the Alabama Crimson Tide in 1934 with Dixie Howe, Don Hudson, and the Great Bear Bryant. The 52 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, George and Larry Norris, Pepper Rogers, and Jackie Rudolph. Then the great Tennessee State Tigers, who I saw play in 66. Jimmy Marcellus, Eldridge Dick, and Claude Humphrey in 1970, Joe Gilliam Jr., Pittsburgh Steelers finest. But Buck Belue, that 80 Georgia team could easily be included with all those teams. But the moments that stick out most for me about Buck Belue, my sister brought him up, that game against Tennessee, he made some key passes in that game. But I moved here in 1996 from Memphis, Tennessee. I live in Douglasville, Georgia. It's 30 miles. And I have a lot of good friends that are loyal Georgia fans. One of my good friends, Joseph Taylor, he loves the program, loves everything about Georgia. And I was talking to him on Monday. And he told me some very, very impressive stories about Buck Belue. His freshman year, leading Georgia from a come-behind 20-point deficit to beat Georgia Tech as a true freshman and beat a Georgia Tech team that had some serious fire on their team. Mike Kelly, who played quarterback with the Memphis Showboats in the USFL. Eddie Lee Ivory, Green Bay, Al Richardson, Atlanta Falcons, Drew Hill, the LA Rams, Ken Hill, the LA Rams. But the most important thing he told me about Buck Belue, I know Buck Belue was highly recruited, but I didn't know this. He started as a ninth grader at Valdosta High School. Then I went and did my research. Valdosta had won several championships. In 74, they made a coaching change, Nick Hyder. And he said, from what my friend told me, Joseph Taylor, North Springs High School, Atlanta, Georgia, said he would not take the job if I can't have that freshman as my quarterback. He's the best player that can take us to where we need. To start in junior high at 14 years old on a major high school program, at 14 years old, I was so immature. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. My father had the dry cleaning business going. Bless his heart, my soul. I'm thankful for him, Chester Turner, who turns 85 in a couple of weeks. I love you, Daddy. I was trying to be a man to him, trying to grow under him. Me being a quarterback in a program like Valdosta at 14 years old. When I heard that story, I gained a lot of respect for Buck Belue. You my man now, man. And the thing about it, he was an outstanding baseball player too. Batted .365 in all his years, career batting average at Georgia. Now, granted, he didn't do his thing on the National Football League level. He played a little USFL. But you know what he got? He got a national championship. And not many people in the world got that at the highest level of college football. And he comes from a city that Valdosta's produced some great football players. Dana Brinson, Coleman Rudolph, Malcolm Mitchell, Willie Gary, who's right now with the Kansas City Chiefs, Zabobi McClain, who's right now getting ready to go to the NFL draft out of Auburn University. Randall Gottfried, another University of Georgia product. The late, great Bryce Hunter. But he's in that royalty of national championship quarterbacks. Before he won the national championship, he joined the club of Steve Soji, USC, Rex Kern, Ohio State, James Street, Texas, Jerry Taggart, Nebraska, Tom Clemens, Notre Dame, Pat Hayden of USC, Steve Davis of Oklahoma, Joe Montana at Notre Dame, Matt Kavanaugh at Pittsburgh, and Stedman Sheila, University of Alabama. Buck Belue followed them. And I want y'all to remember this one point about the man from the University of Georgia. I know Georgia won the national championship this year. Kudos to Stetson Bennett. But Buck Belue won their first national championship. 41 years later, Stetson Bennett won it. But listen closely to what I'm saying. John Elway at Stanford, Jim Plunkett at Stanford, Peyton Manning at Tennessee, Eli Manning at Ole Miss, the great Archie Manning at Ole Miss, Doug Flutie at Boston College, the young man that threw for all them yards at BYU, Jim McMahon. You know what? They never won a national championship. Never a champion. So I don't want to hear about all the yards, the first round pick, awards. That young man right there on your screen is in a class of elite. And he did it when I was in school. And I was a junior at the University of Arkansas when he won it. And I'm going to tell you a true story. I was watching that football game in Buchanan Drake Dorm on the campus of Fayetteville, Arkansas. Some of my buddies, we started watching the first quarter. Herschel Walker went 70 yards for a touchdown. I said, man, Georgia gonna win this football game. And what we did, we went out and shot hoops at the gym we had on campus. Me, Billy Anderson, Victor Moss. We shot a couple hours of basketball and came back. Word is my truth. My boy, I came back. We got some Cokes, and then we had that Pabst Blue Ribbon. We sat down in the TV room, and Georgia was behind. I said, what? And it was second down, and Georgia had the ball on the 7-yard line. I said, oh, man, they're finna lose this football game. And all I remember is Buck Belue rolling out and pointing to Lindsey Scott. And he made that throw on the line to Lindsey. And Lindsey Scott took that thing all the way to the house. And at the time, the old Gator Bowl exploded. And I remember somebody sent over a radio feed a couple of days. We picked up in Fayetteville the call of Larry Munson. Buck Belue rolling out. The pressure's on. He hits Lindsey Scott in the middle. Lindsey Scott turns upfield. Lindsey Scott 40. Lindsey Scott 50. Lindsey Scott 40. Lindsey Scott 30. Run, Lindsey. 20, 10, 5. Touchdown. Georgia. It's pandemonium. They're going to tear the stadium down. We done told some chairs up in this booth. The guy that made the play, y'all like him or not, he goes down in history, in college football history, as one of the greatest, one of the best quarterbacks that won it all because he made the play. And Georgia went on and won the national championship because of this legend, Buck Belue. Let me say it one more time. John Elway didn't win it when he was in college. Jim Plunkett didn't win it. Peyton Manning didn't win it. Eli didn't win nothing. Doug Flutie didn't win it. Jimmy McMahon threw for all them yards. He didn't win it. Dan Marino, let me throw him in the mix. But he won a national championship. So my final words today is, if you like the video, please come in and share it. I'm Mr. Football, Vincent Turner. And this video has been presented by betonline.com. by the Bleed Podcast Network. So my final words, and special thanks to Belue, to Logan Landers. Pull up that song that I'm going to dedicate today to the man, Mr. Buck Belue. It's very simple. See, Buck Belue was a rubber back then, baby. And the great group Chic. That's when I think about him making that play to Lindsey Scott. I think about that lead guitar, Mr. Belue. This is what I think about you, baby. 1, 2, go dogs, 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 go dogs. National champion, 1980 and 2021. Congratulations to you, Dog Nation, and my boy Joey C. I love you, man. Like you say, the Georgia Bulldog Nation's at the top, and my man started in the 1980, Mr. Buck Belue. Take it home, Mr. Logan Lander. The great group Chic. We are Rebel. Buck Belue, you still a rebel in my heart, baby.